stand up here so I can be close to my father. Michael, you ready? Here we go.
It's going. Yeah,
go to the next one. That was just the title slide. So go to that. All right, so this is Spencer Anderson. He's from Lexington, Kentucky. Born, anybody from Kentucky in here? From Lexington, Kentucky. He lived for a time in this house on Maple Avenue with 9 other family members, including his grandfather. He lived with his grandfather. He remembers sitting out on the porch most nights of the week, bullshitting with his grandmother and his stepfather. He was with his stepfather. His mother and his stepdad were, his stepdad was a trainer, a horse trainer in Lexington, right? Thoroughbred horse racing. And so they were gone all the time. They were traveling. So they left my dad with the grandma living in the Bluegrass Housing Project. And they lived there with one man in particular. He'll be coming up in a second. This man, Diamond. How about that name? Diamond Shadone was his great uncle, twice his age. They were like brothers. And this was his male role model for the most part, Diamond. Diamond ended up spending time in Leavenworth prison after World War II because he got into a little tiff with his commanding officer. So Diamond was a bill collector. That brings us to phase 1, the family man. My dad attended Ohio State University, went up north from Lexington, met my mother there, and hence began the first phase of his life. And you'll see he has 4 distinct phases. This first one was the family man, and we'll kind of walk through a little bit of each of these. This was wife number 1, meet Georgiana. That's what happens to be my mother, right? I don't know what my dad was doing with this. It's crazy. And this is a very weird pick, but she came from a really good family. I think he was drawn to that Midwestern girl, right? The perfect woman to be kind of, other than being crazy, to be a family man. And by the way, with the family man phase, you do family man things, right? You take the family to dinner. There I am there. You do bike rides with the family, and there I am with the red shoes, right? You do all of these things. I've circled this space for a reason, and I'll get to that in a minute. As you see, that nice turtleneck is rocking there, right? You do all of the things. You have Backyard Spencer. You have Holidays Spencer. You have Soccer Coach. We won the trophy. He'd never even seen a soccer game in his life. We won the championship. You have playtime on the swing set. Church, right around the house, he's cleaning the pool here. Even at the beach, vacation Spencer. One thing I noticed, though, as I went through all these old photos, he was never smiling in a single photo, which was foreboding, right? I started looking, I noticed, I'll be damned, the guy never smiled during this family man phase. Not a single time. There was one photo I found where it's a kind of a failed smile, a hint of a smile almost, and that's this next slide coming up. This one. You notice there's no kids around, right? He's on a boat. He looks like he's half in the bag, right? I think this is my mom, and there's some sort of wacky hat going on. And he's, look at these shorts. It's an awesome pic. But that kind of brings to the end the first phase of his life. This one ended around 1979. So 1980, right, the decade of excess. I think that was no coincidence. He became the business mogul, right? If you're going to be a business mogul, you'll need a new wife for that role. Right? So he found one. In fact, he found one when he was still married to the first one. But that's a different story. No, that's a pattern, by the way. So he found Maureen. Allow me to introduce Maureen. She was born in India, raised in the United Kingdom, had an intense British accent, right? Above all else, Maureen was a royal bitch. Who had enormous fake breasts. She had a penchant, Maureen did, for foul language, profane language, such as, and I'll try to do my best, don't be such a pussy, have another shot of snot. And then they'd get in a fight and she'd say something like, I'm a fucking American citizen. And who's making the goddamn fuzzy baby? Phase 2 was characterized, no lie, this is a boy from the projects in Lexington, drove a Rolls Royce, flew first class international travel, lived at the country club, right? Was into oil and gas, that's where he made a lot of money. Talk about a douche, wore a mink coat, and had a flamboyant houseboy named Donnie. So, a lot like that. That phase came to a crashing halt in about 95 when he went bankrupt, right? So all the money was gone, oil and gas was gone. Hence began phase 3, the artist, which is an interesting phase, right? So he moved to Fair Park, right? And met Ruta, who was a photographer slash office assistant kind of, but he convinced her to do full-time photography, which she did, and she is a sweet lady. By the way, she's good friends now with wife number one. They go to the movies, they go to shows. It's weird. She's actually a wonderful lady. So he moved to Fair Park. He lived here in a warehouse. And so he worked in the front, did his metal sculpture in the front, and then they lived in this big area in the back. You know, him and Ruta lived back there for a few years. And it was actually very cool until he kind of tired of that phase a little bit and decided, by the way, during this phase he earned his PhD. So he did do some things and he began to teach. So he moves into the final phase of his life, right? The retiree, the grandparent kind of phase. And you can see him here now with all the grandkids. This is Spencer, the retiree. He did some teaching. He worked as a docent at the Dallas Museum of Art. He is now kind of retired and he just plays the ponies all day on his computer. For this phase, he selected Debbie. Debbie is a former reporter. She's worked as someone in a flower shop. I don't know if that has a name, like a florist assistant kind of, right? They get up early in the morning. They have a cocktail around 8 in the morning. They have another cocktail at 10 and then noon. So that's kind of that phase, and it is an interesting phase, but it's beginning to fade out. So we've covered a lot of territory, 50 years, right, in 6 minutes. So here's a quick recap. Family man, business mogul, artist, retiree. I've estimated the dates because me and my sister couldn't remember, my brother, we had no idea. I think this is accurate, though. I think this is accurate. He now lives downtown, right near Chris Lee, or yeah, some of the guys, right over there by Sunset Lounge. So, Willie goes for the thumb, number 5. Which I hear that a lot. I don't think so. There was a time when he was early with wife 4 that you could see he was getting annoyed with her. But he said the guy's 75. Wife number 4, by the way, is 55. So. Anyway, I'll happily answer questions later. I was going to bring him tonight because I thought it'd be funny, but I didn't want to hurt his feelings. I don't think he would have his feelings hurt. He knows it was his life. So, yeah.